thank you for being here today to support these young men and women. Through the years at Chesterton Academy, we've had a tradition of asking the seniors to make some brief comments, which you just heard. And as we've grown, we're finding that it would be difficult to have everybody. And so I thank you for sharing about your experience and your exhortations to those who are coming behind you here. It is true that it could have asked any one of these young men and women to stand up here today, and they would deliver a passionate, powerful, compelling account of what this experience means and what the faith means to them. And that's a great blessing to have that confidence in your entire graduating class. But for the keynote address today, I invited Mr. Joshua Arvin to speak to you. Mr. Arvin has been with us for his entire 4 years, and it's been an astounding amount of growth that he has shown over the course of the time here. Mr. Arvin, I'm going to miss your commanding presence and leadership in the school and the way that we all look up to you. I remember you as a freshman and have always been delighted to have you here, but your growth is astounding. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Mr. Arvin.
Hello, my name is Joshua Arvin, and I am a graduating senior at Chesterton Academy of the Sacred Heart. I've been at Chesterton for all 4 years of high school. Over these past 4 years, I've had the gift of learning many valuable lessons and skills, some of which I would like to share with you all today. Anyone who remembers me from my freshman year will tell you that I was a shy, reclusive individual who wasn't confident in anything and was often a little awkward. I was terrified going into my freshman year. I had been homeschooled my entire life and knew that high school would be a significant change from what I was used to. I would have done anything to stay home and keep things the way they were. But my fear quickly left me, as Chesterton was a welcoming and fun experience. There are many reasons for this, some of the key ones being, of course, the fantastic teachers, and my fun, crazy class who have over time become some of my closest friends. Maybe something more shocking that made the experience at school welcoming and comfortable was the senior class of my freshman year, who impacted me more than I knew at the time. It is interesting for me to look back on the years and realize how far I've come, as well as those of my class and others. I owe so much of who I am today to this school. I've been put in so many social and academic situations that I would have never experienced otherwise. I remember my freshman year, I was writing a literature paper. It was 11 o'clock at night, and the paper was due the next day. I didn't have enough of it done, and I was doubtful if I could finish it. To my surprise, I was able to push myself and stay up and get it done. The next day, I was so nervous that nobody was going to like my paper. However, when I read it aloud in class, I got many compliments on it, which made me feel confident in myself and my ability to write. I also recall times in literature class during my first year when we were reading the Iliad. We were reading the book Riding Through the Night. It is an infamous chapter, and the topic of honor comes up, and what is just in war. I never had strong opinions about a book before, but this chapter caused me to think and consider sincerely the motivations of these characters and what honor meant to me. Not only that, but I wanted to share my opinions with the whole class, and I was able to do so in a well-constructed and intelligent manner. But literature class wasn't the only time I discovered I could do more. It was choir rehearsal where I found my singing voice and learned to be comfortable singing in front of others, not just at school, but even in front of a crowd at a concert. I never would have known the joy of acting and learned the value of being able to present myself to a crowd and be confident and comfortable to perform unless I was forced to. I wouldn't be comfortable speaking to strangers or be able to have an edifying conversation with them unless I had to at the gala. This school pushed me outside my comfort zone, so that I was forced to adapt and grow in a way that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. I'm proud to say that since my freshman year, I've become confident in who I am, in my faith, social skills, and ability to be comfortable, even in situations I've never been in before. Throughout these past 4 years, I've also learned some valuable lessons and wisdom I would like to impart with you all, especially for the classes that will graduate after mine. Live like there's no tomorrow, because there isn't one. I don't say that to mean for you to go up to parties and stay up late. I mean, tomorrow isn't guaranteed for you or anybody else. Take every chance and be kind in any way possible, even if it's small, like asking someone how their day was, even a total stranger. Put yourself out there and present yourself, even if you don't always feel like it. I have found it so important to myself when I can help others. I can't begin to count the number of times I've had a tough day and a random act of kindness completely changed my outlook. Whether it was a total stranger or a good friend, I look back at my freshman year and I can see how the senior class impacted me daily. Many of the times that they affected me, they probably didn't even know it. Whether it was Nicholas's amazing bass voice inspiring me to try and sing louder and lower, or Anna showing me how to laugh at the silly things, or Matthew displaying the benefits of hard work and giving attention to every conversation, and of course Philip giving me the confidence and nerding out about Star Wars and Transformers. There are so many other times that I learned just by interacting with them. I remember one time, my freshman year, we were all sitting at lunch, and Dr. Russell walked in the room and gave Matthew back one of his literature papers that he had written, congratulated him on the paper, and went about his day. This intrigued me, so I walked over to Matthew and asked him what the paper was about. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like, this is your average literature paper, about 5 pages or so. This shocked me, because I struggled to even write enough to get onto the 3rd page. I was perplexed by how he talked about it in such a lighthearted manner, like it wasn't a big deal. So I inquired what time he went to bed, because surely he had to have stayed up till all hours of the night. He replied with, about the night. I had to write after I came home from work. I believe I said something to the effect of, wow, nice. But at that moment, I was amazed. I thought writing a paper was the most exhausting, time-consuming thing you could do, and Matthew would have the entire day of school, then his shift of work to come home, I'm sure exhausted, and sit down to write a paper and manage to be in bed by midnight. That level of discipline and work ethic seemed unattainable to me. And whether I knew it or not, in the moment in my head, the bar had just been set. And I would try to reach that level in the coming years. I'm sure that Matthew didn't think much of our brief conversation. But that one conversation not only set the bar for me, but also showed me it was possible. It's so easy to forget how people look up to us. I know for myself, it's hard to remember that. As the youngest of 6, I was always looking up to my older siblings, figuratively and literally. I was always the little kid who didn't know what was happening. I never in a million years thought that there'd be somebody looking up to me. But I recall last year, I was at breakfast with my mom, aunt, cousin, and grandma. And my grandma pulled me aside and started telling me stories of my older cousins and how they were tall and impressive, but meek and modest. And how, even though they didn't know it, heads would turn when they walked in the room and people would look up at them. And she said to me, Josh, don't ever forget that there's always somebody watching. I share that story to mean that even if you don't feel like you're old enough for somebody to look up to, or if you don't think that you're good enough, or intelligent enough, or wise enough, that there's always somebody younger, or maybe even the same age as you, who looks to you for advice, or perhaps they look on you on how they should act, or on how they should hold themselves. It is absolutely vital to keep in mind that there's always somebody watching. This goes without saying that the seniors in my freshman year were such a blessing to me and many others. And that's what I implore all the students of Chesterton, to just be a blessing to everyone. Consider the weight of your legacy and what it means to you. I know for myself, this past month or so, I have been reflecting a lot on what my class's legacy will be. What will we be remembered for? What will I be remembered for? I can have ideas what I might be remembered for in my head, but I can't know. I can only hope, because I and my class's legacy lives in the minds of you all. We can't choose what our legacy is, but we can act in accordance with what we want it to be. Last Friday, during our choir rehearsal, Dr. Russell separated the seniors from the rest of the school, so that we could hear what they would sound like when they sang for us today. It was an emotional experience that I wasn't expecting. Something more surprising to me was the reaction that the younger students had. Seeing some of my most beloved friends get emotional because of my leaving really hit me hard, in a way that I wasn't previously expecting. It caused me to reflect on why it's so hard to leave. Good things are deeply rewarding. Not only do they take a lot of time to develop and grow, but they require a deeper meaning to them that goes beyond having a good laugh or sharing a good meal. It's the shared experience that connects us. It's the deeper meaning behind what we have shared at Chesterton that makes it so hard to say goodbye. I have had the absolute honor of being friends with many of the younger guys here, especially Aiden and Isaac, who have meant so much to me and have been such amazing companions these past couple years, with whom I've had the pleasure of sharing some of my knowledge and experiences with them, and them with me. So I asked the younger classes, but especially the freshmen, who will cry for you? Who are you going to touch and teach in these next 3 years? What's going to make it hard for you to leave when you're standing here? All good things must come to an end, but in the end is our fulfillment. All the things we do here, all the joy and hardships, they carry over to the rest of our lives, and our experience here is fulfilled by how we live it. You can't just fulfill your purpose by staying in the same spot your whole life. G.K. Chesterton speaks of this strange feeling when he illustrates it in one of his bittersweet articles, speaking about the experience of growth when he was moving out of London. Quote, "It is glorious to become a man, but pathetic to leave off being a child. It is jolly to become a married man, yet it is despairing to leave off being a bachelor. Permit to us who pass from one state to another something of the pathos that is to be permitted to those that approach to death. We are happy to go into the country, but we are unhappy to leave the town." G.K. Chesterton. It reminds me so much of the apostles, spending 3 years with Jesus Christ himself, building inseparable friendships with each other, and having experiences that we can only read about. There came a time when they had to go their separate ways and fulfill their purpose, but I'm sure that their shared experience of walking with Christ never left them, even when they were half a world away from each other. I bet they still felt the connection of the time that they spent together. It's hard and heavy to move on. Growing is something we as people will have to go through our entire life, but the burden can be light. Quote, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Matthew 11:20-30. In my final words with you all today, I would like to give you a mission. The same mission that was given to me 3 years ago in this very spot. Philip Rupert gave his graduation speech and imparted a mission to me as a freshman that I would like to also impart with you all. Quote, "And keep the school and guard it from evil ways, because the world outside is full of dirt-eating snakes that will devour you and try to feed you their filth. For the sake of the school and out of love for God, continue to develop the school and do everything in your power to protect its culture and virtue. Do not take this unique education for granted." Philip Rupert. I would like to give a brief thanks to the people in my life who helped me get to this point. I would like to thank my parents and grandparents for supporting my education for these past 4 years, as well as my friends and teachers who have helped shape me into the man I've become today. I would like to thank Dr. Russell for the opportunity to speak here today and to share my experience of Chesterton and the lessons I've learned here. But last but not least, I'd like to thank you all for coming and supporting the class of 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arvin, for your reflection and personal reflection, that uplifting